Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, or good afternoon, I should say. The High Commissioner of the United Kingdom to Fiji, the technical team from the UK, invited delegates, experts from the other Pacific Island countries. Big Bulavanaka, Wakalewa to you. You'll have to excuse me, I'm not feeling too well, so I've got some kind of allergic reaction, so I might just sneeze on you whilst I'm speaking. But it gives me much pleasure to be here this afternoon. As the High Commissioner highlighted, the health of our oceans are critical to us, as commonly referred to as the blue economies. The Pacific, of course, most Pacific Island countries, the amount of oceans we have within our jurisdictions, within our territorial areas, is far, far greater than the actual landmass areas we actually have. So it is quite critical to understand, and unfortunately it has not always been understood, that there is very much part and parcel of our asset base. And we have to ensure, purely from a financial perspective, we have to protect our asset base. If we don't do so, then there's obviously a diminishing in the quality and the level of assets that we do have. And it is very critical because this asset is not going to grow. The areas that we have is not going to grow. But the challenges that we have as individual countries will grow. Our population numbers will grow. We have a much younger population base, most of our Pacific Island countries. We have other new challenges in respect of development imperatives. So it is very critical to protect our asset base. Similarly, as we protect what we call our green economies, our forests, we need to be able to ensure that both these assets are protected. And indeed, we take this asset somewhat for granted. If you see the level of pollution that we have around our oceans, unfortunately most of it is not our doing. A lot of it is actually comes from the Pacific Rim, the edges of the countries on the edges of the Pacific Rim. They fundamentally contribute to the high pollution levels. The mercury levels are quite phenomenal in some of the areas. And in fact, I've seen some pictures where aircraft have taken shots of these sort of kilometers of actual plastic and toilets and all sorts of paraphernalia floating across the ocean from the east to the west and sometimes down south too. So these are some of the areas, of course, that is beyond our control. And we therefore had a fundamental reason, as the High Commissioner highlighted, as our Prime Minister has highlighted quite forcefully in the global arena, that we need other nations to take responsibility for that. And we need to highlight how critical it is that they understand the impact of their actions on countries like ours, or economies like ours. On the other hand, of course, there are certain things that we do have control over. And that is, of course, our own pollution levels, what we actually put into the sea, how we actually manage those assets. And indeed, for one of the fundamental problems that we have had in Pacific Island countries is a lack of capacity, the technical know-how, the technical capacity within our individual countries. So, having experts from the hydrography office in UK and various other scientists who have the technical knowledge, to be able to work together with the local counterparts in the respective countries will help us create that level of knowledge, that level of technical knowledge that we can then use to be able to see how best and what best we can do to be able to protect the individual environments that we have. Of course, oceans do not necessarily know borders. They don't know borders at all. What we may put in Fiji may actually travel all the way to Samoa and the Cook Islands, etc., and vice versa. So we similarly need to be aware of what is happening between the Pacific Island countries, in the same way that we are aware of what happens to the migratory species of tuna. Where it moves from, which country or which parts of the ocean it moves to. So we have to ensure that we have this critical knowledge in respect of our ability to ensure that we look after this very critical asset of ours. So I'd like to thank the UK government for taking this initiative, as announced to the Commonwealth by the British High Commissioner, and the British Prime Minister, I should say. And I understand that we are the first region that has been chosen to have this technical workshop. So thank you very much for that. And you can be assured that as Pacific Islanders, we are very keen to protect this asset base and we'll be looking after that. I hope that you also be able to develop or have those networks amongst yourselves, because it is very critical to do so. Yesterday I was at a forum where we had all the development banks in the region, And we talked about the impact of climate change in respect of how they profile their customers, what kind of expectations they should have, and indeed the areas of investment that development banks should focus on. Because climate change is an all-encompassing phenomena. It is a phenomena, of course, that is not something that is marked by one single climatic event or some extreme weather event. It is actually an ongoing issue. We have encroaching waters. We've already moved 3 villages to higher grounds. It has an impact on how we then ensure that they have sustained livelihoods, how we manage, for example, sewage, how we manage the ability to access clean drinking water. We also need to be able to understand that, for example, the climate change itself has an impact on our day-to-day activities. What type of seeds do we use now, given the fact that the rain patterns have changed? Where do we plant? What are the salinity levels in the soils? I mean, there are certain parts in Fiji where you cannot actually plant any crops because the salinity levels have increased. And we've been a bit late to be able to manage the encroaching seawaters into arable land. So these are, of course, some of the wider issues that we need to be considering. Of course, it fits in with the SDGs. We have the ability to ensure that through the SDGs actually have an interconnectivity. They cannot actually exist on their own. We cannot simply say that one SDG stands alone on its own. In the same way, if our economies don't do well, we won't be able to address issues of poverty. We won't be able to address issues of education. All of these things actually do cost money. We cannot always depend on aid. So it is very critical for us as Pacific Islanders to ensure that we ourselves are quite insightful in the manner in which we deal with meeting some of these SDG targets, but have the fundamental basis of ensuring that our asset base is protected. So, once again, for this wonderful opportunity you've created for us, I would like to thank the British government for this. I'd like to also thank the technical team who've come out here to be able to share their knowledge with us, and I wish you all a very good afternoon. Thank you very much.